MMA Tonight. Last topic, Ken. We haven't gotten to this yet in this show, but we're going to next hour. Jon Jones. We found out that his hearing with the California State Athletic Commission is coming up in December. We're going to find out exactly what happens to him. Now, there's a lot of moving parts. We know that USADA is complicated. His suspension can be from anything from nothing to 4 years. It could be anywhere. But for someone like you, Kenny, who cares about the sport, has been a part of the sport, someone who's your opinion of what happens matters. What do you want to see happen to Jon Jones? Because part of me is like, I just want to see him. I want to see him fight. Like, part of me is like, give him no suspension. I want to see him fight again. The other part of me is obviously, how many times can a guy screw up and still be able to fight? How many times can a guy get caught cheating or being, screwing up his life and still be able to fight? Where do you stand on this? Where do you think a punishment for the most appropriate punishment for everything he's done, specifically this last transgression? What's the most appropriate punishment in Kenny Florian's eyes for Jon Jones?
It's really a shame because I feel like Jon Jones has been one of the most exciting fighters and one of the most dynamic fighters I've ever seen. I love watching the guy fight. It's amazing what he's done throughout his career, but now we have a lot of question marks. How did he go about getting that success? Was he using PEDs all along? And I don't have all the information. I don't know if he is guilty of using steroids or, was it a tainted supplement? I don't know. I would like to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, but he does have a lot of strikes against him, which is extremely unfortunate. And for me, I just want them to, first of all, deliver all the facts exactly of what happened, both USADA and Jon Jones, of what exactly happened here. And based on those facts, give him the appropriate punishment, or don't give him the punishment. But I don't think he's getting away without getting punished here. I don't see how he can get away without being punished here. And unfortunately, this isn't his first offense. I think he's probably going to be looking at a 4-year suspension. And that's the worst part about it, man. I hate seeing guys not be able to compete, especially when they're such talented and exciting fighters. But at the same time, this is the fight game. And if you're using performance-enhancing drugs to hurt other people, I really have very little tolerance for that stuff. So I think that if he is guilty of using or it comes out that he was using steroids, he's got to be out for 4 years. I think that's what we have. To protect the other fighters, that's what we've got to abide by. And unfortunately for him, that's probably what he's facing.
Let's talk about this weekend's fight. UFC's heading to Poland. It's going to be on Fight Pass. Darren Till's taking on Donald Cerrone in the main event. Now, I feel like this is the riskiest fight of Donald Cerrone's career. Not that he's fighting the riskiest fighter where he can lose, but he's on a 2-fight losing streak for the very first time in his career. You look at the guys he's lost to, almost every single one of them a former champion or just a terrible matchup for him. Now he's fighting a relative unknown compared to someone as popular as Cerrone, and if he loses, he's lost to a relative unknown, and now he has a 3-fight losing streak. I mean, I feel like this is the riskiest fight he's ever taken, no?
It's one of the riskiest, for sure. I remember when he fought Cowboy Oliveira, and I was saying the same thing. I was like, why is he taking this fight? So he has done this in the past, but it's a little bit different because he's coming off 2 losses in a row. So in that, I agree with you. I think that it's also a tough style matchup for him as well. If he wins this fight, people go, okay, well, that's what he's supposed to do. If he loses this fight, everyone's going to be, questioning whether Donald Cerrone should continue fighting and maybe he should retire or he's fighting too often. But, that's the way Cowboy likes it. I think that familiarity with the octagon is something he craves, something he enjoys. I think the guy's just a crazy bastard who loves to fight. And that's why he's so beloved in the UFC. So it's also going to be an exciting fight. The way that Darren Till fights, I don't think he wants to go to the ground. I don't think Donald Cerrone wants to, but he just might. I think that's where Donald Cerrone will have a big advantage. I think if he decides to hit that double leg, and Cerrone has a very sneaky double leg. It's very good. People forget how good his takedowns are. And when Cerrone hits the mat, he's usually submitting the other guy. So he gets all the credit for being an excellent striker, but Cerrone's submission game is at a pretty high level.
Now, Kenny, let's say Darren Till finds a way to win, and say he wins in spectacular fashion. Where does he go from here? And do you think the UFC can really put him on that platform to be the next up-and-coming star?
Absolutely. You beat a guy like Donald Cerrone, especially, after, 3 wins in the UFC. I think that's a guy that they really can push. And I think they are looking for more European stars. Obviously, we have Conor McGregor. But after that, there's not a whole lot of European talent that's getting a big push. And I know he probably splits a little bit of time being in Brazil, but, a lot of the European fighters even, we see them coming to the United States and doing that. But for Darren Till to do something like that, I think they really can create a big European star. And Darren Till's one of those guys who has a lot of confidence, and he should. I mean, he's 15-0-1. He's undefeated. He's been looking pretty sharp in the UFC so far, and he's a guy who has a lot of life experience at only 24 years old. So I'm excited to see how he does, and I think he really is in a no-lose situation. He goes in there and has a good performance, but if he loses against Donald Cerrone, a lot of people are going to know Darren Till's name.
The voice of Michael Chiesa on MMA Tonight. I'm RJ Clifford. So one last topic that I want to get to. We've talked about it a lot on the show today. Jon Jones's hearing with the commission is going to be in December, and we're going to find out what his suspension is going to be. And I've heard anywhere from 6 months or less to 4 years or more are all on the table for him between his, the second time he's popped, the substance he popped for, his history, and everything that's happened in and outside of the octagon. As a fighter, how do you feel? What do you think the effect USADA has had on the sport from your perspective? Has it cleaned everything up and you're happy? Have they done more damage than good? Is the jury still out? Is it good but some changes? Like from Michael Chiesa's standpoint, as a fighter, how do you feel USADA has affected the UFC?
I still say it's affected us for the better. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get guys like Jones getting popped, and the last minute, the whole thing with Jones last year. With UFC 200 and all these other instances where, it's USADA's rules and regulations have came up at very inconvenient times, but, justice doesn't wait for anybody. You know what I mean? It's got to be served when the time is correct. You know what I mean? And the correct time is any time. You know what I mean? And I think that it may be an inconvenience for promotional purposes at times, but I don't care. I want a level playing field. I don't care if I have to keep getting up at 7 a.m. to take a whiz quiz at random times. And trust me, I've had USADA show up at some very, very unusual and unappropriate times. But
like
you know what? I just, they showed up. They showed up at my house when just tail end of I had a Halloween party last year. Mm-hmm. And they showed up at 7 a.m. So just right as everyone's been down and out for a couple hours. Boom, they're knocking on the door, walking in, there's beer everywhere and shit. It's weird times like that. But I'm all for a clean sport. I really am. And the state athletic commissions don't have the budget or the manpower to uphold the type of testing that USADA is putting us through. And I stand by it. I stand by it 100%. I know every fighter out there says he's never taken a PED, and it's a line that falls on deaf ears. But I can honestly say, I swear by anything, I'm one of the very few that's never touched one, never will touch one. The day I can't beat a man all natural, then I'm gonna hang him up and I'm done. You know what I mean? I'm all for fighting natural fighters like myself. So, we'll see. I hope